Hello, good morning everybody. Going to make a public statement here. I got a lot of work to do on Facebook today. I got to take down some pages. We're going to have a talk about that today. What's been going on with my Facebook and why. What I believe in. I've written up a pretty detailed list and things to go through with all of you. My followers, those who follow me, yeah, I see people are logging on now, so I'm going to make this statement. First, I want to tell everybody, I heard back from Facebook community, okay, that's the official, it's official for Facebook, so they've reached out and, you know, my latest posts and why I'm experiencing so much trouble with Facebook. So it has everything to do with the pages that I own and I manage, even though I didn't elect to. At some point over the last couple years, many people have added me to Facebook pages, and then by default, the people who may have created them left it to me. I never regulate nothing. I don't go on to these pages. I share in them like I used to before. Alberta Yellow Vests, that's one of them. Apparently I own it now. I own several, anti-masker, anti-vaxxer. The list goes on and on. I really don't monitor that stuff, and I don't monitor the content, okay? Facebook has red flagged a bunch of it over lots and lots of months. So although when I get fact checked or I get screened, when I'm attached to a Facebook page or a Facebook group and that thing gets red flagged, it automatically goes into my name, especially when someone's put me as the owner, left that group themselves, but left it in my name. It's all on me. So Facebook automatically, that's the system. I'm not red flagged for my videos, but all my stuff that gets screened at several times has everything to do with the groups and what's being shared there, what's being claimed. That goes directly on me as I'm to manage these things. So, of course, I'm not going to manage them. I have no interest in managing any of them. So I'm going to be closing all of those. I didn't elect to have it. Nobody asked my permission. They just did it. But the statement I want to have right now here is, for those of you who followed me for a long time, I know very well how the mainstream works, especially the political parties. I of all people, know that they will go after you for any kind of sexual deviancy. They'll get you on any kind of tide racism that they can orchestrate or create, but put on your plate or set you up for failure. Beyond those parties, there are an exorbitant amount of nutcases on social media. Politics attracts losers and crazies. That's a reality. And unfortunately, some socio-narcissists are so great at their presentations that they fool a lot of you and you'll get into bed with them, but they absolutely have no interest in you, no love of your province or in any factual reality. They get off on a psychological tactic. Some of them are anarchists, some of them are extreme leftists, as the term applies, and some are extreme right, okay? I am none of those things. I never have been. I try to equate media from my childhood. I was born in the 70s, and, you know, for any kind of rural Albertan with those first two channels that we were given, there was a childhood cartoon, The Amazing Spider-Man, and, you know, Hercules and some other cartoons. That's what I grew up with through my whole childhood, The Amazing Spider-Man. And I always think of media like J. Jonah Jameson. Spider-Man could have been he is a hero, a good guy, but Jameson always wanted all the bad narrative, as much bad narrative, because bad news sells. So they didn't want to give him a good narrative. He's a bad guy. That's what goes out in all the papers, criminalizing him. We laugh, we look at those childhood cartoons, but that's a reality. It's a reality for anybody who goes political or tries to fight any kind of establishment. This is where you're going to go. And I always think of that, The Amazing Spider-Man. It really is true. I've only had maybe 3 or 4 actual, somewhat factual news stories. I can thank CTV in Edmonton, Alberta. They most certainly did give me a terrific platform, at least 4 historical records of me as I am and as I tried to give myself out to my province. I'm fortunate for that. However, literally, there are many, many terrible stories, and there's probably close to 300 interviews, 3-ways, all kinds of stuff that has never seen the light of day. I've never even been allowed to make the light of day because it doesn't reinforce that evil persona, that pervert, that criminal, or that, psycho from the alt-right. If I didn't fulfill those narratives, I didn't go out. And of course, I didn't. And I'm going to get into Mark Friesen. I'm going to try to make this for him. He is a good guy, and it's really unfortunate what's happened to him just over this weekend. I caught up on all of it this morning. My mom, I got family in Saskatchewan. Part of my family, just as old as the Alberta side, and way down south Saskatchewan. They're all, "Oh, Dave, you got to read this stuff. Your friend Mark." And I'm like, "What?" And I went through all of them. We're going to go into it. But first, like I said, I want to make these statements, and I want them to be very, very clear to all of you. And you can choose to delete me or be gone. I have waves on my social media. People will erase me, or people will come back, or they won't come back at all. And I really have never cared about my popularity, but I absolutely care about getting the truth out to all of you. So the first thing we're going to look at is what I call the right false narratives that I absolutely do not support. 1, I am not an anti-vaxxer. 90% of the claims are absolutely 100% false by anti-vaxxers. Sorry, I've done detailed, deep analysis. A lot of you have got to see it who followed me. 90% of what anti-vaxxers claims is false. 100%. I've gone to world experts right here, Edmonton, Alberta, and as far as Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Credible, real experts recognized on the world of experts. No reason to lie to you. In fact, they got screwed over too, okay? 90% of anti-vaxxer propaganda is just that, and it's false. 2, I am not anti-UN. Are you ready for this? 96% of the claims against the UN are absolutely false. I've tried in great detailed analysis to get this out for you guys. There's a whole side of the UN that nobody wants to narrate because there's so much propaganda and you're all being fed so much BS that absolutely that very, very important 4% of the narrative that is absolutely detrimental on this earth that needs to get out, can't get out because it's overshadowed by 96% false claims. Absolutely 100% false claims. Sorry, people hate that. Go ahead, I see some people chuckling and laughing, but yet you have no experts. You have some radical. Now, don't worry, we're going to get into the left here. If you're all offended, it's going to get better here. So from the left, environmentalism. 94% of the claims by environmentalists are absolutely false. Green is the new red. If you haven't figured that out, all lefties. Now, socialism. 98% of the claims propagating for socialism are absolutely false. It's 100% a destruction of the middle class. Absolutely. That is the historical reality of socialism. These 4 topics are the Great Reset globalist socialist narrative, their best weapons against all of you. They have done a tremendously great job with just those 4 topics, those hugely false claim topics that there is a little base of reality there. Massive, more than 90% in all 4 categories are absolutely false today. In the media and on the side of what's called the conspiracy theorist. You can go with great claims, you can be doing a real great narrative, and then those giant bombs of bullshit explode right in the middle of it to make us all look like we're out to lunch. It's great for the mainstream parties to absolutely throw you under the bus. You're either a pervert, a racist, or a radical, and that's how you go forward. Now we're going to get into my friend Mark Friesen, who I very much support. He's a great future leader. However, like myself and like so many before Mark and me, when you don't sit well with the mainstream, Scott Moe is absolutely the Saskatchewan party, i.e. the Alberta party, i.e. Liberal Party of the province. That's reality. Scott Moe follows that agenda exactly the same as Alberta's. The C40 cities, all of it, that is Scott Moe. As was Stephen Mandel right here in Alberta, exact same party to a T. It is a pre-built political design set out to abolish all conservative parties. It's the new Liberal to be able to hijack conservatives, manipulate them into their narrative. And it's clearly articulated there. Jason Kenney, UCP, has absolutely absorbed Alberta Party. In fact, he appointed Stephen Mandel and several of the Liberals to Alberta's massive governmental system here. Conservative? No. UCP is not conservative. They've absorbed almost most of the established Alberta Party. They're just like Scott Moe's Saskatchewan Party. That's reality. Massive liberal integration. Absolutely. You can look at the roster of all those who ran, who were liberals, who are now all of a sudden UCP. Flip-floppers, they joined Jason Kenney's narrative. He absorbed so much liberalization. Don't mess with the mainstream. That's the reality. That's where we're at. Guys like Mark Friesen, myself, and many others who clearly see this stuff have great narratives of real truth, real research. You don't get to get your narrative out because there's always going to be people sick, perverted, and mentally ill like Rudy Bruce, who come with absolute propaganda and bullshit. Rudy Bruce is a severe socialist, by the way. He takes on the craziest conspiracies, absolutely zero fact, zero experts. Not anybody would ever follow that guy from any kind of major academic world or any real corporation or any real business because he's insane. And unfortunately, he attaches himself to people who are trying to get up there. He does it every time. And Mark, you're the latest victim. Now you're immortalized as now we watch Yellow Vest get totally destroyed by Rudy Bruce. It was usurped a long, long time ago by people like Rudy Bruce who are sick, mentally ill. Myth is Canada, those people. You know, absolutely no basis of any kind of reality or truth. They have no experts. They have no legal team whatsoever. And they just go out and they're anarchists. They're absolute anarchists. They can't make it on their own, so they attach themselves to any legitimate, credible movement starting to grow, and they absolutely destroy you. Green Party is the left's version of it that's actually starting to make ground because they take the green as the new red, massive wealth transfer. This anti-vax, they're already trying to take it from the Democrats now. They're already putting it in. You can look on the anti-vax site. There's a massive amount of liberals attached there. All you got to do is start clicking on people's profile and you realize, oh geez, this is an extreme liberal. I know a whole bunch, and it's scary. They're globalists or everything else, and a lot of people will fall for that. And you don't realize they've completely usurped and destroyed your movement. And you have to ask yourself, why is that person in this group? Are they there to help your narrative, or are they there to blow it up? That's what's being done to you, Mark Friesen. That's what was done to me. It's what's been done to many. And, I'm happy with where I've gone with academia. I like the idea that I can call organizations medical specialists and they actually will talk to me. It's building credibility. And my credibility can't take stuff that I never elected for or ever wanted to be a part of. I've, discounted it a million times, but people keep adding me to stuff without even asking me. You talk about rights and freedoms. Where were my rights and freedoms? You didn't even ask my permission. You assigned a management and ownership to me without even the duty or decency to call me or say, hey, you know what, Dave? Can you take this over? Because that was never your agenda. You're going to take what credibility I have and usurp it for your own bullshit narrative to explode me. Now, I'm going to have to go through them all today, and it looks like, honestly, I've never even looked at it. It looks like now I'm going to have to end all these sites. Now, people are going to have to open their own. I don't care, but you never contacted me and said, hey, Dave, would you mind managing this? Would you mind owning this? Do I look like a guy with all the work I do want to manage any other group or pages? I support your right to be, but I don't want to be accountable for you or what narratives you sell, or you're trying to use my name in the name of your name to make credibility for your crap. Be a man or be a woman and do your own narratives on your own bloody name. Don't steal people's. It's wrong. What was done to Mark Friesen over this last weekend, what now the media has propelled him in the media, that's a real leader, a real politician who was trying to get forward a real narrative. Do I agree absolutely with everything with Mark? No. But I respect him enough to know he does a hell of a lot of research. He really, truly does love Canada. He sees a merit in trying to fix it. Great. I respect him as a colleague. Go do it. But Mark, if you're watching this, you're already experiencing what happened to me. And if you look at my history, these players that got up there that absolutely threw that nuclear bomb, they're the same guys who threw a nuclear bomb on me several times. People say, hey, there's no such thing as negative media. I used to kind of say, I guess, and you kind of chalk it up, and at least your name's out there. But the reality is, it destroys you with the mainstream. It's not true. You're best off slowly working your way up, doing the hard work. I'm not like all these other scumbags. I've never asked for a dollar from anybody, and I'm likely never going to, because I can't stand the disgust of that world and those politicians. Any of you, I kind of like some of the narratives of Paul Revere, but here it is, they invite you to something, get your name on it, and then it's put in $100 donation so you can participate. Went through that last night, and it's like, really, man? You're making $176,000 a year. You got $80,000 expense account plus an administrative staff on top of that, paid for by Joe Jane taxpayer. But yet you need even more money to fuel more crap that doesn't really do anything for any of us. And I'm not trying to pick on conservatives here. Liberals, NDP, they're all the same. You pay to be represented. You pay, you tax, you go, and they will. They're all going to be taxing your ass off. If you don't think this new globalist socialist reset, if you don't think that in 150 years we've borrowed just over $1 trillion now, and now in 3 years we plan to double it, if you don't see the radical crazy, which conservatives promised to do, we would be doing more than liberals. If you haven't seen what's happening in the conservative provinces, shut down, small businesses scrapped. And I know, just like you, Mark, I get all the small business owners jumping on board to things. But then these bombs happen like this last weekend. You're now a grandma killer. Even my parents talked to me about that. Friends of the family. We got freezing friends too, Mark. I haven't even talked to you about that, but they all, oh, geez, are you sure this is kind of looking bad? And I'm just like, wow, I had no idea. I look at it and holy. Then I got Facebook because I'm mad about why my videos are getting scrubbed, why I'm getting held back. I'm blaming governments. I'm blaming everything else. And then Facebook community. By the way, these are the problems we have with you. These are the groups you're running. These are the things that you're propagating in your name. Holy smokes. A whole bunch of which I've never supported in any way, shape, or form. It was never in my political platform. Why would I support it? But again, somebody decided I don't have a right to have any kind of ask the man, or hey, would you support our thing, or hey, could you manage this, or hey, would you mind if we use your name or make you ownership of something? No one ever asked me. Didn't have the decency to respect my rights and freedoms, my civil rights, but you didn't have any problem taking mine away from me. But yet you say you're in the name of civil rights. And Mark Friesen, this is what they've done to you. The same people, the same sick, narcissist crazies. For all of you watching this latest one this morning, 30,000 troops, Chinese, they've got a F-16. The government's not telling you, it's a big secret. It's all bullshit, man. There's a whole list of military personnel currently retired, currently attached to academia, moved on with other things, who are going to absolutely laugh at you, would never attach their name to that. And I would never attach my name to some bullshit story like that. You think the U.S. is just going to let China march all over and screw up the North America? Give your head a shake, people. There are some trade deals in place. Yes, Harper. Yes, for the United States, all the way back to Nixon. Yes, these economies are amalgamated in so many ways. And now China in the last 2 years has gone in an extreme direction, and now it has to be addressed. Yes, Canada and USA are somewhat screwed over. UK just got absolutely obliterated. Why? Because they colonized with Hong Kong. They had held on to that for the last 90 years, and then they had to give it back. And then the deal they had was scrapped because China doesn't have to honor it. And now all of a sudden we're all supposed to blame, oh no, there's a big conspiracy. No, it's the usual government BS, the usual corruption of government that we need to address, that's nowhere near the extreme radical narrative people are sharing. And there's those of us trying to get that 4% of truth out, real, credible truth, or 6 or 8 or 10% that is real. But we can't, because we got a whole lunatic narrative that actually is just created to make sure none of you follow that 4 to 10% of reality, the absolutely detrimental stuff to each and every one of you average Joe Janes. But we can't get there because there's so many nuclear bombs thrown in it that 90 to 98% falsehood that chases all the mainstream away. And until somehow we can get rid of these narcissist, sociopath, propagandists who are absolutely from the extreme left or from the extreme right, who only are there to destroy you. That's the truth. Guys, have all a great day. I hope you share this out over the next 2 hours. I'm absolutely going to be ending all those pages. Maybe I'll create some new ones, and if people want to go on those, there'll be rules and there'll be a list of all of the beliefs and things that are being fought for that you need to know. A Real Truth Facebook page, as Facebook community has literally gone through all this stuff with me, and I am literally disgusted, angry. I'm not gonna red flag people's names. I did do Rudy Bruce because he is a real piece of shit, and he's done this umpteen times because he's a sick sociopath, narcissist, and absolute socialist. That's reality. I have no respect for the guy, zero, none whatsoever, and I want no attachments to him. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for that. I have to scrap Yellow Vest Alberta, among others, but that one's going down. And you know what? This is what they do. This is how they usurp stuff and wreck it and destroy it. And I promise you, grandpa killer, a lot of old people are really dead set against the whole anti-mask, anti-vax thing. A lot of the elderly are absolutely, we're not down with any of this. Respect me during these times. Sorry, that's mainstream. I know for a fact. All I have to do is look at my own family. Bye all, have a great day.